Whether you keep them in your home or love to see them in theirs, these are the creatures that bring us all together.
Reptiles. We're going to be delving into the experiences of reptile lovers from around the block and around the world. This is the Reptile Talk Podcast.
Boom! What is going on, everybody? This is Jeremy Turgeon from Brassman Reptiles.
And I'm Rob, and I'm keeping it real.
And he's not peaching us.
I'm not. No peaches tonight. But we are, if you're watching on the YouTube channel, we are a little bit closer. It's giving us a more intimate feel this evening.
Yeah, you can see all of our terrible blemishes. And
it's mostly mine. Just mostly
screaming. Oh gosh, heck yeah! But I'm super happy to be back doing another episode after just a couple of days. If you didn't check out episode 110, with TJ,
my Lanta, you need to
go back and listen to Rob and TJ geek out about scrub pythons. I was just like, this makes me very happy.
It was the whole episode. I was like, I listened back to it and I was like, oh, I just ranted about scrubs for half the episode.
And I'm not even mad about it, dude, because first of all, I love seeing you geek out about reptiles because like there's very few people that have that level of passion for any species of snake in general.
Yeah.
And then, to have somebody else on that's equally as passionate, has had so many other interactions with extra animals. I mean, it was just a fun episode. I had my couple little tidbits I sprinkled in there, but I was like, nah, this is y'all got this. This is Somalia chat with TJ and Rob, and I'm just here to watch the comments.
Yeah, it was
dope.
It was a good time. It was a really good time. And tonight's episode is brought to you by Black Box Cages, and that is what we're going to be talking about this evening. I'm pretty excited about it.
Yes. Yeah. Massive shout out to Black Box. If you guys have been listening to us for any period of time, you've certainly heard the commercial play. You've seen recently, I've started throwing this ticker on the bottom here, and now we're making sure that we try to plug them as much as possible throughout the episode. Black Box was our full year 2022 sponsor, and they've wonderfully carried that over into 2023. Absolutely love Black Box, and they've come up with so many different innovations and concepts as they've grown. But before we dive into all of that, I think it's important that we talk about reptile caging in general, like where it's come from to where we're at now, and then some of these specific changes that Black Box is doing with their units, which I think are absolutely wonderful, and I hope that other companies will kind of follow their lead, because I think it's important. But think about caging back in the day, Rob.
I don't want to think about that.
Right, it's equally terrifying. So
yes.
But so I think those of us that have been keeping for about 20 or so years, most of the times for us, we got the glass cage world. It was the aquarium world. I'll put it in a 10-gallon tank and a 20-gallon tank and whatever. And not that there's anything wrong with using glass enclosures. Obviously, people still use glass enclosures these days, but we've learned over time they're poor insulators when it comes to heat. A lot of times they can stress animals out being able to be seen from every angle. A lot of species don't enjoy that. And also your animals can get out if that screen lid is not attached appropriately. If you're a colubrid person like I was, you had plenty of corn snakes escape.
Bro, I never kept colubrids besides tiger rat snakes, besides spilotes, so I didn't really have to deal with that, but I did have a short tail get out once, and it ended up in my sister's closet, and she was not thrilled.
Oh boy.
She texted me, she's like, I think one of your pythons is in my closet, and I was like, no way, it's not.
Yeah, right. Yeah,
come on. She's like, well, where else would a 3.5 foot long short tail python come from? And I'm like, oh crap,
Borneo, duh.
I'll be home soon.
Yep. Oh gosh. So and even past like cages, even rack systems have come a long way from yesteryear. Where literally there was no there originally was no rack system. It was never a thing. It was a box that you put somewhere, or it was a glass fish tank, and you literally a lot of people that were like there when the inception of the idea of racks came around were literally taking the heating cable off of plumbing and jury rigging a thermostat element onto that to create some sort of heating element and praying to God it didn't catch on fire. So thank God we've come a long way.
For real. And then, back when I was younger, they started rolling out, heat tape, and, wiring your own heat tape became a ordeal. And then you'd see all these situations of people not wiring it properly and it catching on fire, or,
Yep.
bad stuff happening, people not using them on thermostats and melting boxes and all sorts of bad stuff.
Oh yeah.
And I remember, my first snakes I definitely kept in glass aquariums just because that was pretty much what you could do. I did get one with a sliding lid, but
those
listen,
those sliding lids,
they changed
those
the
were
game.
lifesavers.
They changed the game. Because before you either had those wide like clips that you could put on either end, or you could use the crappy clips that were like the ones that were kind of shaped like this, and they hooked under and hooked over the top, that were not really good for any, like, I don't know what those were supposed to keep in, because they did not keep anything in.
They're for show, man. It's just decor, external decor.
Yeah, it's so you could be like, look, I have locks on my enclosures.
Yeah, I'm doing what I'm supposed to do.
Yeah,
sort of.
And then you get people who just stack books on top of their enclosures, or
cinder blocks or bricks.
Lord help me.
Yep.
If anyone would like to see what that
innovative.
looks like, go into the All Things Enkistrodon Facebook group, and you can see people who have cottonmouths in 10-gallon enclosures with a cement brick on it in their bedroom. It's always cottonmouths. Why is it always cottonmouths?
There's some reasons, Rob. There's some reasons. Oh gosh. No, but it's true. I think overall, now in 2023 we're seeing a lot of advancements in reptile keeping overall. But it's very nice. Again, jumping back to the rack system thing, before this concept existed, it was pretty much just people putting bins on a bookshelf with some sort of heating element, and the concept was the tub had approximately the same square footage or floor space of the tanks. If we think about a CB70 drawer that's 33 inches by 17 and a half inches by 5 inches, floor space wise, very similar to a 20-gallon long.
Yep.
And that was for many, many years the standard glass tank for your average adult corn snake, an adult male ball python, and so many other colubrid species and smaller python species. So it was like, hey, these things really don't climb all that much, but that's the right floor space. So here, and slap some heat in the back, and then we're good to go. And thank God we've evolved from just slapping that onto a bookshelf. But essentially, as rack systems started developing, that was the same premise. Like what makes sense floor space wise to house an animal appropriately, and can we figure out a tub that works for that? And in some cases, certain companies like Freedom Breeder and ARS have their own tubs molded specifically for what they're trying to do. So you have those like the 4 foot and 6 foot drawers, that work really well for like adult boas and stuff like that. If you're in the breeding context, where you essentially have a 4 foot by 2 foot cage or a 4 foot by 2.5 foot cage, you just don't have the height element. So again, a massive innovation compared to throwing it in a bookshelf. Being like, well, good luck.
and a lot of people, a lot of people were just like, oh, well, you can't just do that. And it's like, think about the amount of vertical space in a 20-gallon enclosure, And then if you are not putting any branches or physical obstacles for the snake to be utilizing that portion of the enclosure, it's probably not going to really be utilizing that
Yeah,
height of the enclosure. It's like when
exactly.
people would get like a 30-gallon tall and it's like almost the same floor space as a 20-gallon, I think.
Yeah,
Uh, and it's like, okay, you could have just gotten something wider. Like you're not really doing anything extra unless it's like a corn snake and you're like putting lots of branches and stuff for it to climb on. But like a ball python, it's probably not gonna really feel any major difference between that
no,
30 tall and that 20-gallon
right.
long.
Right, exactly. And I will say too, a lot of times when people think about rack systems, they think about very minimalistic enclosures, just
Mhm.
like paper on the bottom or a very simple substrate base and a water bowl, and that's pretty much it. And a lot of times that's what we see frequently because the industry has such a focus on the breeder element of keeping and working with reptiles.
Mhm.
However, like you and I have seen, there are some really creative people when it comes to rack systems. I know that there are some people who are over the top extravagant and go get 4-foot freedom breeders for their ball pythons and they deck it out and do whatever. And that's dope. If that's what you want to do, go crush it. Awesome for you. But we've also seen our buddy Steve Tillis crush it in CB70 drawers and do a whole bioactive setup in a CB70 drawer. First of all, just to like point and laugh at all the bioactive freaks out there, but also to just basically be like, hey, yes, this is a normally minimalistic enclosure design, but it doesn't have to be. You can actually add
Yes.
a lot to this and provide an animal with some level of enrichment. Certainly, of course, not the same as if it had a large cage, but if you're going to keep these animals in rack systems, you have a lot more flexibility than just, throw some paper down and call it a day.
Mhm. Yeah, for real. And we've also gone, I just think about like seeing ball pythons back in the late 90s, early 2000s. People just would keep these really, really big ball pythons and these very small. They're like, you can breed them in sweater boxes if you want to.
You're like,
And you're looking at it, you're like, I don't know if that's really, I don't know if that's the move, man. I don't think that's it.
yeah.
And we've definitely come a long way from that. And then
Mhm.
also the expansion of just people having easier access to PVC enclosures has definitely led to more people wanting to have these enclosures in their house and get to look at their animals more readily, work on better lighting, have more, enrichment.
Mhm.
And whether it's, a crested gecko or a ball python or a scrub python, they all have advanced from the ways that we used to keep things
Yeah.
and changed immensely. Think about not ceramic heat emitter, sorry, the radiant heat panels, just like
Yeah.
being able to distribute that amount of heat evenly and at a lower wattage rate than putting a 150-watt light bulb in your
Yeah.
enclosure where they could potentially get burned or worse.
Right. No, it's very true. Over the years, I would say probably over the last 10 years, especially, we've made like these leaps and bounds as far as husbandry and just general advancements and care for reptiles. And I think in tandem with that, especially as people, there's an undeniable wave of people that have grown more accustomed and have desired more to keep their animals in nice elaborate cages versus rack systems and stuff, and that's allowed people to catch these different little nuances of keeping each
Mhm.
species and get ideas about stuff that we haven't necessarily thought about. And again, a lot of this comes to the fact that the industry has been really good at showcasing the breeding element of keeping reptiles. And again, not that there's anything wrong with that, but for the most part, those of us our age and a little younger, a little older, we got into it because we love these animals. We weren't ever concerned about a dollar sign next to the animal that we were trying to keep, other than like, man, that kid just can't afford that right now. But we weren't looking at it from like, oh well, if I breed that, I'm gonna make a $20,000 snake. We weren't ever looking at that. We were like, man, this snake is awesome, this lizard's awesome. I want a chance to work with that. How can I set it up really, really well? And even glass enclosures have made a lot of advancements as well. Like I just did that vivarium build for the Chihuahua geckos. Shout out to my friends at ZoomEd who made that possible. But like that front opening glass enclosure, I mean, that's huge.
Yeah.
That was a huge move, to the point where like that's the stuff you see in pretty much every pet store now. You got Exoterra ZoomEd enclosures all over the place. But yeah, I think when PVC enclosures started to become more easily and readily accessible for the general public, that was the biggest game changer. Because now you could really, first of all, hold in heat well for your animal, whether you're using an RHP or you were using regular lights with just cutouts up top. You could really hold in the heat and humidity a lot better for your animal. And I think really quickly that was like a bug that went through the entire industry. It was like, oh, wow, look at this, and a lot of them, they're sleek. They become a piece of furniture. You can put it in your living room and you're not ashamed. It's not like water stained glass, somewhere in the front. It's like this beautiful, well crafted PVC enclosure, and you can deck it out, and do whatever you want with it, and really showcase your pet, and I think that was a huge impact. I mean, I know I've kept animals in racks and cages a lot over the years, but I will say, like, getting the black box enclosures for the Amazons was one of those moments for me currently where I was just like, man, you know what? I do kind of miss seeing snakes in cages.
Yeah.
That's just badass.
Yeah, I set up some lights in my 4-foot enclosures, and I'm like, why did I not do this a long time ago? This is every night I get to just watch, like, as soon as the lights go off in the enclosures, I turn the light off in the room and I can see them. But when I wake up in the morning and come out into the living room and I just see the scrubs perched up, and I'm like, oh, this is the best.
So cool.
This is amazing.
It's so cool, dude. I love going down into the reptile room first thing in the morning and turning on the Amazon's light and seeing them all sitting right under the RHP, right there, just like, yeah, it's time to warm up and get this day going. And I'm like, yeah, it's so cool, man. And seeing where they kind of navigate through the duration of the day, like halfway through the day, they're popping back up top, then they're going back, they're going under the cork bark hide on the bottom. It's really cool to watch those behaviors that in racks you just don't see that.
Yeah. And one of the things that I've done is some of my carpet pythons, I set them up in enclosures, smaller ones, and give them perching opportunities. And I think it's not really funny, but it's interesting because, like, a lot of the podcasts I listen to, or a lot of the things I've seen people talking about West Poplin carpets, they're like, oh, all they do is just sit in their water dish, or they just hide all the time. And mine perch constantly, like literally every single day. There's probably a couple days a week where they'll hang out on the ground, but most of the time they are perched up. And how cool is it to just see a carpet python sitting wrapped around a branch like a green tree python? I'm just like, oh man, this thing's so freaking cool.
It's super cool, man. I've not kept baby Morelia in enclosures like that, but I remember when I first started using that like plastic fencing to put inside the tubs to set them up. When you open up that enclosure and they're just perched, they're sitting right on top of it, just like, you got food for me? Like that. I'm like, oh, it's so cool.
So cool, yeah. Hell yeah.
Just a little bit of that natural behavior. I mean, it's cool. And again, seeing where caging has come and is going, I think we're going to see a lot more of this. And I want to, before we get even more deep into this, I want to say, like, we're not here to have the debate of cages versus racks. That's not what we're here to debate on this episode, because Rob and I pretty much believe the same thing. There are certain species that do better in cages. There are certain species that do better in racks. And your experiences may vary. We're not here to say one is better than the other or anything like that. So that's, if you're here for that kind of debate, it's not happening. There are
Reptile
benefits to
Fight
both.
Club.
Yeah, right. There are benefits to both, and also from a business standpoint, understanding cost and the economics of breeding reptiles on not even a large scale, just some kind of scale. Racks do really provide a lot of benefits for the person keeping them that's got to pay those bills to try to have a business and do what they want to do.
Yeah.
It's certainly not the only way to breed reptiles, but if you have $500,000 to go start a zoo, then and have crazy elaborate enclosures and put all the animals in there to go do whatever the hell they want all the time, wonderful, go crush it. Sadly most of us do not, but yeah. So jumping on to Black Box and really diving into what they've got. So I came across Black Box cages thanks to my friend Cindy at Raining Reptiles. They're based in Buford, Georgia, and she had some of their racks in the shop, and I was like, wow, these racks they're really well done, and they're designed to fit the Vision tubs, the Vision product tubs, and I was like, wow, these are really well done. And then I got to meet Jen. She had popped into the shop one day, and Jen and Clint are a wonderful husband and wife team, a family operated business. And one of the first things that I had asked was, what's your lead time? And they're like, oh yeah, we're able to get things out within about 2 weeks. And I was like, what?
Excuse me?
I'm like, you guys must be not getting that much business then.
Yeah.
Gee. And they're like, oh no, we got dozens of orders like this. We're just able to move stuff out. And I was like, what is happening? That was like the first thing that on my radar was like, ding, 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 ding. Like something special's happening over here.
Yeah. For real.
As I'm like, these lead times are outrageous.
Yeah. One of the kind of mainstays in the reptile hobby. I don't know if we should say their name or not. Schmanimal Schmlastics. I've literally had people who told me they waited a year for their enclosure. Literally 1 whole year. They paid money up front and did not get their enclosure for a year.
Yeah.
That's insane.
It's insane. And I mean, what I will say when it comes to that is, I mean, they got business.
Yes.
That's like
the demand for PVC enclosures is so high.
Yeah. That like, and yeah.
Yeah. And it's really amazing to me that with that demand so high and the, all the costs of PVC going up and the supply chain issues, Black Box has still been absolutely crushing it and keeping really close to their lead time. And if they've got anything that comes up, they're really good about communicating with people to make sure that you're not out of the loop. And know that, it's getting to you as quickly as it possibly can. You don't order it when it's a baby for you to get the enclosure when the animal's an adult.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and I mean, when it comes to all these other brands, I mean, it's very because I'll throw this disclaimer out here too. We're obviously talking about our friends at Black Box. And of course we're going to say go to Black Box, especially if you want your cage ASAP. But there's a bunch of wonderful cage companies out there that build fantastic quality products. There's no question about that. There's so many amazing options for everything in this industry, shipping companies, cages, all these other things. But we're talking about Black Box because that's what matters right now. But yeah,
because we like them. They have a really great product. Like
they do 100%.
We do not just like accept them as a sponsor because they're like, oh, we're just, we want to be your sponsor. We actually like their products as well. Like this is not just like a sponsorship deal. We really do like Black Box enclosures.
Yeah, 100%. And I like what they stand for too. And the consistent desire to do more and try to innovate and take things to the next level that I think challenge other people in the same part of the industry, to try to step up and make sure that it's actually happening. The other thing that I like is the fact that they make, when it comes to their racks in particular, they make all these racks for all these different model tubs. If you use Freedom Breeder tubs, ARS tubs, Vision tubs, they have racks that are designed for all of those, which is great. So if you have a tub preference for your rack system, they're going to do it. They've got it. Chances are it's already done.
It's already been done.
Which is wonderful. And then of course their cages are phenomenal. I've got that stack of 10 XC18s, which is where I keep my Amazons. And they've all are connected with radiant heat panels and dimmable LED lights, and I absolutely love those enclosures. I love going downstairs looking at my Amazons and those things. And the last, I was just down there actually at their shop a couple of weeks ago, and I said to them, I was like, man, the last time I was keeping and trying to breed Amazons years ago, however many years, 15 years ago or whatever it was, I was like busting my ass trying to cycle those damn things, because we're still figuring it out 15 years ago. But I'm like, I'm breeding. I got 3 ovulations this year. I didn't do shit. Like just the natural fluctuations that happen here in North Carolina. I didn't adjust temps. I didn't do anything crazy to humidities. I didn't do any crazy food cycling, but they have felt solid enough where they're just like, yeah, we're good to go. And
we're doing it.
We're doing it. And I was like, this is great. Like, I didn't have to do anything. This all I had to do is put them together. Look at that. But like that's one of those things where it's like, if you can have it dialed in like that, you've got a product that is doing its job. Obviously it needs to keep the snake inside. That's primary function, but to hold heat and humidity consistently, very comfortably for whatever species it is, that goes a long way. They also have so many customizable options from from different lighting that you want, to cutouts for basking lights, stacking options, all these things is really just amazing. And I'm going to go back to the 2-week lead time thing, because I think that is like one of the most amazing things. Given how much business they do. Again, I was just at the shop a couple weeks ago, and there are cages everywhere. There are literally cages right in the foyer that are getting ready to get shipped out. They've got like some displays that are there for when clients come, and I'm just like, oh my god, it's so much PVC. I've never been so excited by PVC in my life. But yeah, it was interesting, because then I was looking, I remember talking with them about their sliding glass door options and some of the things that they were doing to make sure that if you were going to keep an animal in a cage with sliding glass doors, it wouldn't get bedding thrown up into the tracks. That was always a problem whenever I had sliding glass doors. They put an extra tall lip.
I was just going to bring that up. The inside of the front of the enclosure, they have a substrate dam basically that goes along the front, so that you don't have to worry about your substrate getting pushed out onto the sliding track for the doors. And if you have the drop down door, same thing. It's but they have a line, the bio line, that is for having deeper substrate for your enclosures.
Yeah. And I think that's freaking perfect, because there's nothing more annoying than trying to pull out a snake, and it of course, if it's a kind of python or boa, it's wrapping its tail around the bedding as you're pulling it out, and then it's everywhere. You're already mad it's on the floor, but then it gets in the tracks, and you're like, no, I can't close the door, and I got to get the shop back. Yeah, plenty of bad experiences. But also some of the like minor innovations that they've done and advancements that they've done. Great example is the cord protector for the radiant heat panels. So if you have used radiant heat panels, the power cord connects to the side of the panel, and then usually there's like this little like blip of the cord before it goes flush against the ceiling. And if you are keeping geckos or maybe Amazon tree boas or something semi-arboreal, they get up in there and maybe they pull it down accidentally or whatever, and then it's unplugged and you don't know or you don't see it right away. It's very annoying. They've designed a 3D printed protector that you can literally just screw right in over the cord, and then nothing can get through it. It totally blocks it from an animal sticking their tail in there or jumping in there and doing anything. That's huge, both for making sure the animal stays warm like it needs to, especially if you have a really heavily decorated enclosure and you're not going to see it, but also it reduces a fire hazard.
Yes.
Big time. Anybody who knows anything about electric, if your connection's like barely touching, you get one little arc and suddenly it's a whole world of what the hell is going on. So that was actually something really cool when they first started designing those, and I was like, oh, I don't think anybody's ever thought of that, but it is something that matters big time. Again, not just for care of animal, but for safety for the animal and for the keeper. The worst thing to one of our biggest fears as keepers is a fire.
Yep.
So anything that can be done to protect
Mitigate that.
Yeah, is huge. Is absolutely huge. I'm looking at, there are so many advancements. I have like a list on the side. I'm just like, oh yeah, I got to make sure I talk about that one too. One of the things that Jen gave me the last time I was there was the subterranean hide. And this is a new hide that they've come out with. It's basically the same concept as a regular terrestrial hide. However, instead of a hole on the side, the hole is on the top. So you can bury it under the substrate if you so choose, or use it as a humid hide. Put it above the substrate, put a whole bunch of moss in there. And I threw it in with one of my Amazon tree boas. And of course, the one I put it in is the one that likes to use the arboreal hide more so than anything else. So, yeah. But is a really cool option, especially if you're keeping geckos, any sort of humidity loving species, so they can just get away and be cool and damp. I thought it was just a really unique option for hides that, if you're certainly, like, larger companies have made those like rock style humid hides, which are really cool. And it's kind of along those lines, but certainly the streamlined PVC, while it's less natural looking, is a lot more sanitary. It's a lot easier to clean should you need to, which again is just aiding in the health of your animal, which is always first and foremost for all of us.
Yeah, my Jayapura scrub, I just set up a little humid hide thing in there with her enclosure, and I put a hole in the front, and then I also put a hole, like a smaller hole in the top, and she almost always uses the top one to come out. She doesn't really like when she's going back into it in the morning time to go to sleep, she'll use the front one, but the rest of the time she's always using the one on the top. So, as keepers, we're thinking, oh, what's the thing that, if you're thinking two-dimensionally, you're thinking about, like, if you're keeping leopard geckos, of course you probably want your opening to go on the side because that's the plane that you're probably going to be easiest to go on. But with snakes, they're moving around and up and down so much that having that option for them to go down into a hide, the scrubs seem to just really prefer that over, like, my Wamina scrub. I put in a hide that has a side opening one, and she'll sit on top of it, and then I put the one that's got the hole in the top, and she goes down into it. It's so weird. It's just like, it's little things that you wouldn't generally think of, but it's what they like. So you gotta do what the animals like, not just what you like.
Exactly. And trying these new things, I think that's one of the things that as keepers, especially those of us who have been keeping for a longer period of time, we kind of lose, not 100%, but when we have something that works for us, it's like, okay, I think we're good. Works for the animal. The animal's doing what it needs to do. It's like, okay, we're good. There's a little less incentive to try new things or attempt new ideas, because it's like, well, I don't want to mess it up. It's working, especially if you're working with a species like scrubs or anything that's like, when it's dialed in, it's dialed in.
Don't mess with it. Yeah, don't mess with
just don't mess with it. But yeah, like taking those liberties to kind of be like, okay, well, how can I try something that might benefit the animal more, or I might now see a more naturalistic behavior coming out of this animal? So one of the other things that I like that Black Box has done recently has been these acrylic door lockers. And basically, if you have racks and you have a toddler or you have that friend over that just wants to touch everything, there are these side doors that don't cover. I would try to share my screen. My computer's acting really slow and I don't want to mess up the Wi-Fi connection here, but you can see all these things on blackboxcages.com. But these acrylic door lockers basically are like a quarter door that go on each side of the front of the rack, so you can't pull it out. And it was something that when I first saw it, I was like, oh, this is interesting. What's going on? And the more I thought about it, I'm like, that's actually perfect for the family that has, maybe a breeding project of ball pythons or whatever, and again, toddler or whatever that's like, I want to see the snake now. And it's like, nope.
No, you don't.
Yeah, exactly. Just a unique safety feature that just provides a little extra security for parents or just for anybody that doesn't want prying hands opening rack drawers. So definitely something that I thought was a unique feature for sure. Now I've jumped over to their website because these are the big ones that I really wanted to dive into here when it comes to racks. The first thing is back access panels to be able to get to heat tape or install your thermostat probe. But they've basically provided you a very nice sized, hand-sized hole for you to access the back of the enclosure. And anybody who's worked with PVC racks,
oh my Lanta,
knows that when
slide your whole arm in there and make sure that it's in the right
you're doing
area.
Yoga. Yeah, you're doing yoga and you're feeling around trying to make sure you're in the right spot. But yeah, that's that. When I saw that, I was like, oh my God, somebody finally did it. Like,
yes.
If you've used like vision racks or anything like that, where they're more open concept, this is not really a new thing or a problem that you've ever had. But if you've been using PVC racks for the majority of your time keeping, you have certainly had those moments as soon as you pass 6-quart tub where you're like, I can't do, what do I do with my hands? I can't make it happen. I can't find the probe. I don't know. And then you look and you've like duct taped the probe to the shelf and you're like an inch behind the heat tape or an inch in front of the heat tape. And you're like,
shut up. Why are you doing this to me?
Because I've done it too, bro.
Oh my God, it hurts.
Too. And like, I remember, I forgot which company it was, but there was a company that like they put just a hole in the back of the rack for the probe to go into. And it's like, okay, we can feed the probe through here like a thread and, and then pull it in and do whatever. But you still found yourself having to go to the front of the rack and stretching around trying to be like, okay, then you're getting scraped up by the PVC and all this stuff. Yes, CBD Exotics said exactly. Or you have to take the whole back panel off. Oh man, just annoying, just kind of annoying.
Yes.
So this feature I thought was really, really innovative because again, a lot of times we think about all the different rack options that exist. Obviously, you have your ARSs, your Freedom Breeders, your Visions. You have AP. You have so many different companies, and then of course there's like smaller local companies that are just starting trying to do these things. They're not necessarily thinking about these little things. Yep. A lot of times these guys they're building enclosures with the forethought of like, yeah, I'm going to sell this to somebody who gets a new pet, but also the majority of my market is the people that already have these animals, that want to upgrade or do whatever. So they're not necessarily thinking about these little things because we've all gone through the help. Yes. I can't find that. We've all done that, and we all just suffer through it.
Getting cut by PVC is a special kind of hurt.
It sucks.
It's horrible.
Sucks. But yeah, so I was really impressed with that idea. It's just, again, forethought for the keeper that, again, just makes our job easier, and we can just worry about spending more time working with our animals and enjoying our animals. So one of the other nice things that they've done has been the integrated thermostat probe location.
Yeah.
So this was really cool. So basically, they have routed out a way for you to put your probe in to touch your heat tape, so you can get an accurate reading on your thermostat. And it's routed so that it's not just going to slide out. It's got this little zigzaggy pattern. Again, all these things you can view on Blackbox's website, blackboxcages.com. And it's, again, one of those little things that is just forethought for both the keeper and the animals. Anybody who has been keeping for any period of time or been involved in keeping any period of time, that's been on Facebook groups or whatever, you've probably seen somebody at some point talk about how their thermostat probe fell off the heat tape, or the tape came undone, and then a whole unit gets cooked, basically.
Yeah.
And that is a nightmare. I can say that it has happened to me once many years ago, and it's horrible, absolutely horrible feeling. And you don't ever really recover from that, because you're like, this was such a simple thing. Like, how did this fail? So this is just another innovative thing that is a safety thing for both the keeper and the animals. Obviously, if a thermostat malfunctions and starts, really cooking at high temps, there's again that fire risk. But also, for the animals, the last thing we want to do is have our animals perish from some oversight or unseen thing, because, again, we've been sitting there, I can't find the heat tape for the probe. You have a moment like that, you're not gonna see when the probe comes undone.
Yeah.
So this is just another solid way to ensure, hey, you know what? I know where my probe is. I know I locked it into place. You can certainly tape it or do whatever you want to do to add that continued security. But now there's just another level of, hey, I'm going to make sure this doesn't get messed up. I'm going to make sure that my animals are safe. And I thought that was really, really special for them to do, because, again, just shows the forethought. The last thing that, this isn't the last thing, but probably the most notable thing, the fail-safe thermal regulation.
Yes.
And so basically, I'm going to read what it says on the website, because I think they've really discussed it appropriately there. So basically, on their website, it says, our biggest complaint with racks is the roundabout way that temperature control is currently done. It's counterintuitive. The thermostat is there to ensure the heat tape doesn't overheat. That is the primary use and goal. Keeping the temperature internal to the tub at a particularly set point is a secondary concern, and usually requires you to manually adjust your thermostat. Right. So we've all been there and had to tweak things as we get a new rack set up. Once you understand fundamentally how all that works, it makes sense. Maintaining your temperatures properly becomes easy. However, getting this understanding to begin with as a new pet or keeper can be a challenge, which is true. So basically, we're talking about, I'm going to skip ahead a little bit here, because this is just kind of like discussing the problems overall. Most thermostats commonly used in the hobby are relay-driven on-off type thermostats. They are manufacturers which provide dimming or PWM thermostats, and some which also have safety cutoffs built in as well. However, the lion's share of thermostats in use are based on simple relays, and unfortunately, relays have a nasty tendency to fail when they fail. Essentially, the little contacts internally spark an arc when opening and closing, and so many on-off cycles, those arcs can cause the contacts to weld themselves together, causing the relay to stay on when the thermostat is telling it to turn off. This is rare, but it does happen. So these are those thermostat malfunctions that I was talking about. Something happens, and then all of a sudden your stuff's getting cooked. We believe in our solutions. Items 1 and 2 will fix almost all these common causes of heat tape overheating. However, we wanted to make sure that our racks would have an additional layer of safety. We've added a fail-safe thermal regulator to the rack, which will prevent the heat tape from overheating. This is where it gets cool. This is intended to be a fail-safe and not a primary means of temperature control. So you still need to regulate your rack's temperature with a thermostat, and you still need to ensure that it's in proper working condition and monitored. But this fail-safe regulator will prevent heat tape from rising above approximately 140 degrees Fahrenheit. 140 degrees is warm enough that folks in cold climates, think basements in the winter in New England, will be easily maintain their target temperatures, but not overly hot, so that in the case of a thermostat failure, the animal will still be able to move to the cold or front side of the tub to get away from the heat. Again, this is intended to be a fail-safe measure, as most thermostats support high temp and low temp alarms. We highly recommend they be employed along with regular validation or supplementary monitoring. So basically, we have this element that works in tandem with your thermostat. If you have like a VE thermostat or something like that that has alarms for high and low temperatures, if that fails for one reason or another, this new element will shut it off once it hits about 140 degrees. 140 degrees is still very hot, but if you have like an ARS 5540 tub that's about 33, 34 inches long, and it's a 3-inch piece of heat tape, you have a way better chance of that animal surviving, because it's going to run over to the cold side. And be like, this is not great. I'm really hot right now. So as soon as, and usually at that temperature too, you'll also feel heat coming out of your rack system. So that's when you can be like, okay, I got to check this. Something's wrong. So again, just another innovation to protect keeper and protect animal as well. I thought that was probably like the coolest freaking thing, because I think about it, like I have Freedom Breeder racks, I have ARS racks, I have a black box rack, I have some AP racks. I've got nothing is the same brand here because we don't do that, but if I think about like ARS or Freedom Breeder, I think they both make great racks. Obviously, they're industry standard companies that have been around for decades and decades and decades. They don't provide anything like that.
No.
And the cost at which those racks exist, you'd think maybe this would just be one of those things that they could start to integrate, or be as a customizable feature. As both companies do allow customizing options for temperature and heat and all those things. So again, if you have a VE thermostat or something like that, and it already has these bells and whistles that you can engage, great. But this is just an added feature that I think should start to become industry wide. Just baseline, at a bare minimum, an option for you to choose. And realizing what that safety measure is for you. Again, it's if you want to think about from the business standpoint, it's protecting your investment. It's just an added layer of protection on your investment. And from a personal standpoint, it's an extra protection against that God forbid moment where you get a thermostat that fails, heat tape goes through the roof, something catches on fire, and then suddenly you're getting a phone call while you're away at work that there's a fire at your house.
Yeah.
And this stuff is not like, the concept is not new. Like the concept of thermoregulation is not new.
Dealing with for a very, very, very long time.
Yeah, exactly. So, so the fact that now, Jen and Clint have been like, hey, we're going to take safety to the next level, and provide this option. The other element to this too is it basically becomes a plug adapter on the back of the rack. Right. And the other element of safety on this is if you have maybe you have a couple of racks or whatever, or even just one, and you need to move it, and maybe it slips out of your hand, or if you have it on a caster base, it slips out of your hand and it rolls a little way, and the cord gets tugged. This essentially also becomes a quick release. So instead of yanking your heat tape,
your heating element,
potentially doing a lot more damage that could then create a fire hazard without you knowing, this is like, oh, well, that just came unplugged. Let me make sure the connectors are good. Okay, cool. We can plug it back in and we're good to go.
Hell yeah.
The peace of mind that's provided there is second to none. The other thing, the last thing that they have on this new section, so they have a whole section, the black box new fail-safe rack features. The last thing on this list is the new C14 standard cords. And really quick, just the little blurb on the website. Many of our customers have asked for different lengths of cord that we wire to be able to use the heat tape. Until now, this has been somewhat problematic. Since we purchased cords in bulk, having many different sizes was not really feasible. And since the standard wiring practice for heat tape is to connect the cord directly to the heat tape, the ability for customers to change the cord after they get the enclosure was not possible. To fix this, we're going to be installing these C14 cord sockets, which is what I was just talking about. Similar to what you'd see in a tower or computer, and shipping standard 6-foot cord. If you need a longer one for whatever reason, it's easier to carry a couple of sizes to replace. So this goes in tandem with the thermoregulation of just, again, if you're moving a rack and it gets pulled, if you get all these safety features happening in one unit, you have an extra thermoregulator that's going to be like, whoop, it's too hot. We've got to shut this down. Yep. And then you have this, oh man, I was moving this rack and I didn't realize the cord is as short as it was. And now I've damaged this, or I potentially yanked my heat tape and I don't know what's going on. Now there's a potential fire hazard. That basically is now eliminated. And let's say you have this one spot in the corner of your room, and that's where you want your rack, but your outlet is more than 3 feet away. Now, with these C14 cords, you have the ability to get a longer extension to your cord, which allows you that flexibility that you need. So, again, all this stuff is on the website, and I certainly mashed up the fail-safe thermal regulation and the C14 cords, because to me they really do kind of go hand in hand. Yes. You can check out all of this stuff on their website, again, blackboxcages.com. And Rob and I, again, we're talking about this stuff not just because they're our sponsor, but again, we do genuinely love the product that they provide. And again, the fact that they're doing all this extra stuff and continuously trying to raise the bar really just shows the level of dedication that they have to keepers that really want to just enjoy their animals. And that for us is incredibly important.
Yeah. And I remember talking to Jen at the Show Me show in Atlanta that I went to. Oh man, that was 2 Octobers ago. Oh my goodness. Yeah. Talking to her and just checking out some of the racks, and she was like, because I had some things where I was like, the type of locks that they use on the enclosures, I prefer like different ones. And she was like, oh, that's not a big deal. If you have like a preference or a type of lock and you can get them, I'll put them on there. Like, that's not a big deal. I will accommodate that. And we were talking about like, me and you were talking about doors swinging forward or swinging up and down. And that's another thing where she was like, oh, that's not a big, if you want that, we can do that. That's not a big deal. Just talk to me. It might add a little bit of time to it, but it's not something that's, a deal breaker. We want to make sure that you get the enclosure that you want. And I was like, damn, these people are, on top of it, because, a lot of the other, enclosure people, even if they have a quick turnaround time, they're not able to make those modifications or willing sometimes to make those modifications to make sure that you get the enclosure that's going to work best for whatever you're keeping. And talking to Jen about that was just like, damn, she is like serious about this. And
Yeah.
you know, listening to THN, the Herd Culture Network, and some of their podcasts, and those guys talking about their enclosures. Then we saw Skylar had, I was like, oh my god, I gotta get some. I gotta get some. Like,
Yeah, man. Yeah, it really is impressive to me, how much they're doing, and again, still able to maintain a 2-week lead time and all of these customizable options and all of the safety innovations. And they also want to hear from us, the keeper.
Yes.
What are some things that you're liking? What are some things that you're not liking? Let's talk about it. Let's explore and expand. When we had first established this partnership with them, one of the things that Jen said to me was like, if there's anything that you can think of, that
That'll
you think
make
would
it
be
better.
beneficial, that'll make it better. Like, let me know. If it needs to be like more ventilation or whatever. I think about I think it's the 18 by 18 by 24 enclosure, which a lot of gecko people use because it's great for gargoyles, crested geckos, all that stuff. Cindy at Raining Reptiles had talked with her about providing a bit more airflow in the enclosures, and was like, if you essentially took like a 4x4 cutout on each side of the cage and put screen there, it would just allow for better cross flow for air. And then bam, next thing you know, it's done.
Yeah.
And it's an option on those cages. And people are like, oh yeah, this is great. I got all this extra airflow now. It's amazing. Again, somebody that's a cage company that's willing to listen to the keeper and at least try it. If it turns out to be something that's like, nah, this isn't really a thing, then it is what it is. But to have the option and then be able to provide it as an option,
yes,
that's everything. Because again, as we've said many times on the podcast, there are so many different variables to keeping. So like for me, I really hate answering the questions like, what's the best substrate? What's the best this? What's the best that? Because there's so many variables that go into it. What part of the country you live in, where you're keeping your reptiles at, how you heat or cool your house. All these things play roles into how we best keep our animals. So it's hard to answer those questions. But once you know those things and you start looking at, okay, well, I want to get a new cage, I want to get a better cage. What are some of the issues I've been having with my current setup? I don't have enough airflow. The air gets too stuffy. Oh, okay, cool. I've got this option for sidewall cutouts. That's awesome. The just sheer number of options that you're provided. And I think, again, a lot of the companies that exist now that are building cages do provide a fair number of customizable options, but Black Box is not only providing you these customizable options, they're also providing you these extra elements of safety that are just becoming standard practice for them. And I think it's a real like stakehold for other companies to be paying attention and start making the same kinds of adjustments, because we're getting to a point very quickly in this industry where status quo is no longer accepted as what we're willing to take. We want to be advancing. We know so much more about not just keeping our animals, but how to build enclosures, how to make these things work better for us, and how to be safer. So think about everything that we just went through that's new, all these new safety features, and then go back to, well, I used to take the heating element off my plumbing and fix this thermostat with a rheostat, not even a thermostat, a rheostat.
Rheostat, oh no.
Where it's like cool, warm, really warm, hot, like
and it doesn't change based on the temperature of your room. So if you set it when it's cold and it gets hot in your room, it's going to get real hot in that enclosure.
Yep, 100%. 100%. I saw somebody in the chat earlier asked if we remember Neodesha cages.
Yes.
They feel old. Yep, I remember Neodesha cages. I have a Neodesha cage down in the basement. It's actually what I use to photograph my animals. So it's just an old school 3-foot Neodesha cage, and it's I don't keep any snakes in it. It's just literally where I put my animals when I photograph them, and it's my relic. It's how I pay homage to yesteryear of reptile keeping. But yeah, Neodesha cages. There's some guys that still use them, and they withstood the test of time.
I just remember when I was a kid, I was subscribed to Reptiles magazine in like 95 or 96. So like I was in first grade. It's when Reptile magazine like just started. I think Reptiles magazine started in 94 and I got it in 95, 96, that time frame. But I remember reading through the magazine and then seeing the vision cages where they had the whole line of enclosures there at the top of the ad. And I was just like, man, those are the freaking coolest things ever. And then after using vision cages, I hate them. I can't stand them. I just like, man, these cages are such a pain in the ass. And then same thing with Neodeshas. I remember seeing the ads of Neodeshas and I was like, man, these things are freaking awesome. And then I'm like, why is it slanted? Why? This doesn't make any sense. You have to buy a special shelf just for these enclosures. Get out of here. Just like, and then now that we got, PVC enclosures and, stuff like the stuff the Black Box is doing where they literally have stacking pins, holes in them so you can stack them and they don't slide or move off of one another. Yes. Especially if you've got them on casters, being able to put those stacking pins and, and everything's uniform. That's just
that's a game changer.
It just makes you feel better.
Yeah, exactly. No, exactly. CBD Exotics is how to make them species specific. Yeah, I mean that's where these customizable options really come into play for your benefit. You know what you're keeping, what you're working with, and A, how they need to be kept, but B, how you in your space are able to get them to that point. So that's where these options really come into play, and that's what makes it so wonderful. Because again, I know how I have my Amazon set up with their standard ventilation works perfectly because Amazons need the higher humidity and stuff. So it does work really well. I know if I was going to put some other species of snake in there, maybe like even just a carpet python, I might need more ventilation because they don't necessarily want as much humidity.
I was just going to say for scrubs, I'll probably do a little bit more ventilation just because their skin's so sensitive to too much humidity.
Exactly. But again, having these options just but yeah, so I just a massive shout out. We did this whole episode on Black Box again, not because they're our show sponsor, but literally because like we genuinely believe in their product and appreciate the innovations that they're doing to make sure that they really are providing a quality product that provides safety for both keeper and animal. And that's paramount. It should be paramount for every single company that's out here building and selling enclosures. So, and Jen and Clint are a wonderful, wonderful pair of people. Again, Black Box it's a family run company, family owned company. And they're crushing it. They really are just crushing it with, again, such solid products and amazing customer service. And again, the 2-week freaking turnaround time, nobody's beating that.
Can't beat that.
Nobody's beating that. Like, it's just not happening. It's just not happening. So at some point soon, I want to do it this summer if we can carve out some time. I want to get down to Black Box with you, Rob, and like let's film a video out there. Let's get some content and let's just show people like what's going on. And show some of these things on video and just be like, hey guys, like look at this, like look at what's happening. Look at what they're trying to do. And of course, you guys can see, again, all this stuff on their website, blackboxcages.com. But yeah, as much as we love them and talk about them, we really want you guys to know we're doing it because what you get from them is like, if here's the level of standard, they're just constantly raising the bar. And that is so important, especially in today's day and age.
Yes, sir. I can't wait to actually get that done because I really want to, one, get down there and check out their facility, and then two, do some herping down in Georgia.
Yes, Georgia
Because
herping. Yes.
I've been seeing, a few people herping out there, and I'm like, the herping's
Mhm.
just starting to pick up here, but Georgia.
Yeah,
Matt
Georgia's
Bowers
got
is
some cool
killing it,
stuff.
man. He's
Matt
some
Bowers is killing it. Yes,
amazing
I
stuff.
jokingly messaged him because he posted a picture. It was him out herping with Frank Frank
Yes,
Bird,
yes.
and I messaged him on that picture, and I was like, brought to you by Bowers and Dad Bod.
Oh no.
This herping trip has been brought to you by yeah. No, I love those guys, man. Love those guys. But yeah, man, that wraps up our hour mark, man. So, all right, Rob, what in the realm of reptiles, Rob?
I'm ready. I'm ready
Are
for
you
this one,
ready?
actually. Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
yes. Okay. All right. What in the realm of reptiles? This is good because I'm not.
I was gonna say you better be ready because
excited?
I'm gonna have mine out here in just a second.
Okay. All right. So, what in the realm of reptiles has you excited about reptiles right now?
So if you're on Instagram, you may have seen this, or Facebook, you may have seen this as well. But Aiden Bradley, his Instagram account is SoCal Biawaks, Biawaks. Aiden Bradley produced several clutches of Dumerals monitors,
Oh, yes.
captive bred
Yes.
Dumerals monitors. Like he raised adults and bred and hatched Dumerals monitors, which I have not seen Dumerals monitors in the United States in a hot minute.
Yep.
One,
Yep.
and then two, baby Dumerals monitors are one of the coolest looking monitors.
They're so cool, man.
They've
so
got,
freaking cool.
for anyone who hasn't seen what they look like, they are a small species of monitor. So adult Dumerals monitors are I think 3 foot, 3-4 foot, with including tail. They're very small, and the babies are black and yellow banded, but their head is yellow on the bottom and bright, vibrant fire orange on top. They go through a color change where they kind of lose that color, but when they hatch out, man, that neon orange on the top, the bright yellow
man.
underneath, the black and yellow bands all the way down their body, they are one of the coolest looking baby monitors. And big shout out to Aiden, because that is no small feat, being able to raise and successfully breed and hatch Dumerals monitors. Is absolutely incredible. He's hatched out 2 or 3, I think it's up to 3 clutches now that he's hatched out, and I'm pretty sure he has more eggs incubating. But man, that's got me super. I saw that, I was hyped. Literally hyped.
Yeah.
I posted on my Instagram story. I was like, everyone needs to see this. Everyone needs to see this.
Man. 100%. 100%.
Big shout out to him. And so, Jeremy.
Yes, I know. I have my answer now. I'm good.
Do you?
Yes.
Okay. Let's hear it. What you got?
Okay. So I want to give my shout out to Cody Joe up in Canada. So because first of all, I love the fact that he is breeding so many species of monitors that have been kind of thrown off to the wayside in herpetoculture. Breeding the quince monitors was a big one, because those guys often are just, they're still imported into the country. They're a great species of monitor, but they're just like, meh, it's whatever. But the thing I think that geeked me out the most was he's got hatching mangrove monitors. And I have loved mangrove monitors for a long time. I never have kept them or anything, but they've always been a monitor species that's just been like, oh, it's just a cool freaking looking lizard. Like, I just like the look of them. But again, it's one of those commonly imported species that's just like, meh, they're mean because they're all imports, and it's just, they don't do well, all these things. But I want to give him that shout out because he's working with these species and not just keeping them successfully, but breeding them successfully. And it's just kind of bringing to light, hey, I know this isn't Salvatore, but it's still pretty freaking cool, and they have a
Yeah.
brain, and they can be socialized, and you can work with them, but you gotta put the time into them.
Yeah. Dude,
So
hell yeah.
so that has me geeked out because I'm just like, man, I appreciate, like, last year we were talking about how it was like the year of pet projects, like the long-term projects, and I just love seeing that continue and move forward, and see people really have success with these animals that for so many years have just kind of been like, you keep it because it's like a one-off kind of thing and whatever. But now we're really making those advancements in husbandry and breeding. So yeah, I'm all about it.
Dude, hell yeah. And then I want to piggyback off that real quick, but Aubrey recently hatched out some coli monitors, and I was like,
Yes.
bro, what? Are you kidding me right now?
Yes, dude.
Dude, that was cool as hell. That is
It
cool as
was.
hell.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Yes.
And then
I
Owen from MPR got rough scale python eggs too, so big shout out to him. Finally, it's been a hot minute, but
yes.
I'm hyped.
There's literally like there are two species of snakes that I don't currently own that I need to add into my collection while I'm downsizing.
Amazon basin emerald tree boa.
No. No.
I love
if I lived in South America where they were the cost of northerns, absolutely. But no. No, is rough scale pythons. There's just something about the rough scales that it's captivated me after seeing my very first ones in person. And then Bismarck ring pythons. I just think they're a cool snake that back in the day, like, I never really gave two craps about. And then just like everybody else, and then they vanished. They're like, you remember when we had those? And I'm like, yeah, I never really pulled the trigger on them, of course, when they were $150.
Yeah.
But now that they're $1,000, I'm like, I have to have these now. But I just want to get the chance to work with them. But I'm trying to hold out for Steve's because Steve has that melanistic one. And I'm like, I want something from that. I just want something from that. So, but yeah, I get stoked whenever I see Carinata on eggs. I'm like, yes, there's more in the US now.
Yeah, man. It's
Hell yeah.
just little things like that just get you all excited, get you all bubbly.
It's true, man. It's true. I'm going to piggyback on this on all of this also to just say that while I was downstairs before coming up here, just like spraying tree boas and stuff for the evening, all of my girls that have ovulated, they were all out sitting under the RHPs, and they're all looking thick. And I'm just like, yeah, I'm so stoked about this. So hopefully we'll have some cool carnage babies and everything else. I'm just really geeked about those.
I'm already tingling.
Yes. Ooh. nothing like het red calicos. No, but I am super stoked about that. So, and dude, the next time you come down, you got to see this freaking red that I got from Brandon. Because oh boy, is she red. Dude, she's like as red as your shirt, bro.
Damn.
Yeah, she red. The girl is red.
Okay.
Yeah. But woo, Amazons. Yeah.
Hell yeah. Hell yeah. So Jeremy, if people want to find out, or if they want to see pictures of some of the stuff that you're talking about right now, where are they getting it?
Yeah. You can check me out literally everywhere on social media, at Brassman Reptiles. I've like forsaken TikTok, so don't look for me there unless you want to see random nonsense that gets posted periodically. But yeah, check me out everywhere at Brassman Reptiles. Yeah, I think that's about it. I'm trying to think if there's any specific place. Instagram is where I spend most of my time scrolling through insanity and watching Rob's stories. Oh man. So Rob, if people want to see more about what you've got going on, where can they find you?
Mostly my Instagram stories.
What?
I said mostly my Instagram stories.
Yeah.
Rob is creeping it real on Instagram is where it's at. I'm on TikTok. Yeah. I haven't really had the motivation to post on there recently, but I have a couple of video ideas that I'm probably going to be doing. It's just been tough because like my 3-day weekends, I've just been trying to just like relax and chill and, you know, do some snake stuff here and there, but I've got some ideas for things. And then we got, yeah, just Instagram and TikTok. Rob is Creeping Real. Do not add me on Facebook. I still get people trying to add me on Facebook. I'm like, who? I'm like, our only mutual is Donnie. Nope. Sorry.
Dude,
I'm
that really is my prerequisite when I check out my friend requests. I'm like, are you friends with Rob? Or if you're friends with Rob, I'll accept you because I know Rob's really picky.
I am, and I go through almost every friend request I get. I go through and I like scroll their Facebook profile, and if I don't see any information, I'm like, okay, no ad. If I see a bunch of random stuff, I'm like, yeah, probably not. If I see any political stuff, I'm like, it's got to be like, if I see a cool ass snake, then I'm like,
all right,
maybe.
We'll see how this goes.
Maybe. I'm gonna scroll a little bit further. No snakes. Okay, no, thank you. Nope, sorry.
Yeah.
It's gotta be all snakes.
It's just that one picture of that hognose snake, that like leucistic wild hognose snakes that was found. Have you seen that floating around Facebook?
The like grayish colored one?
Yeah, it's like yes, yeah. It's like that's the only picture because everyone's just like, oh, look at this.
I'd be like,
which, to be fair, is a cool snake.
It's a pretty cool snake.
The only one you posted, nah.
Yeah, sorry, no, it ain't cutting it. It ain't cutting it. I'm sure that I've got people in my friend requests purgatory that probably I should add at some point.
Rob Casey.
But yeah, I don't know. If those people are listening, send me a message on Instagram and plead your case, because probably not gonna add you otherwise.
Judge, jury, and executioner.
Yeah, pretty much. Pretty much.
Oh,
it is what it is.
Heck yeah, dude. Heck yeah, I'm here for it.
All right. Well, tonight's episode was brought to you by Black Box Cages. Make sure you check out blackboxcages.com. We love them. And yeah, Jerry, we got to sit down and coordinate a time to go down there.
Yeah, we definitely do.
Because I'm pretty sure I'm going to be at Carpet Fest this year, the East Board Carpet Fest. So it's on one of my 3-day weekends. So I think I might try and go up there, hit Carpet Fest, and then do some herping in Pennsylvania, see if I can't see some timbers.
Heck yeah, dude. Maybe we can try to plan it if you're gonna do Daytona.
That's the next weekend.
That is the next. Oh yeah, that is the next weekend. Oh god, too much is happening. August is a crazy month, but yes, we'll definitely figure that out for sure.
We'll figure it out.
Yeah, heck yeah, dude.
All right, man. Thank you guys for listening. We'll catch you next time.
Bam.